July 4th, 2026, Independence Day in the United States. Canada walked onto a pitch in front of their home fans and lost 3-0 to Morocco.
A World Cup.
2 days later, Mexico fell 3-2 to England at the Azteca, one of the most iconic stadiums in football history, on their home soil, in front of their own people.
England knock out the co-hosts in their own back garden.
Hours after that, the United States in Seattle, in front of 66,925 fans, in the country they'd spent 8 years preparing for this moment, were beaten 4-1 by Belgium. Christian Pulisic limped off injured and was seen crying on the bench. In the space of 48 hours, all three co-hosts of the 2026 FIFA World Cup were eliminated, in the same round, on the same patch of soil they'd invited the world to. And the quarterfinals, the ones that were supposed to feature the people who built these stadiums, who sold the tickets, who promised their fans a fairy tale, will be played without a single North American team in sight. Let's go back to 2018, Moscow. FIFA's Congress voted to award the 2026 World Cup to a joint bid from the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
Canada, Mexico, and USA have been selected by the FIFA Congress to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
The first tournament ever to be hosted by 3 nations simultaneously. The numbers were staggering. 16 host cities, 11 in the United States, 3 in Mexico, 2 in Canada. An estimated $10 billion in infrastructure investment. The biggest, most expensive, most logistically complex World Cup in history. And at the center of everything, an implicit promise. Not just to the world, to the people living in those 16 host cities. A promise that this World Cup would belong to North America. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said, "This is a World Cup for everyone." The 2026 World Cup was pitched as a tournament that would grow the game in North America forever. On July 7th, 2026, that promise was exposed. Of the 3, Canada came furthest from where they started. A country that had never won a single World Cup match in its entire history arrived in 2026, having already broken that record. A first ever point, a first ever win.
Canada secure their first ever win in a World Cup.
A 6-0 demolition of Qatar with a Jonathan David hat trick. A historic first knockout round berth. A first knockout round win over South Africa. By any honest measure, Canada had already exceeded every expectation set for them. But in the round of 16 on July 4th, Independence Day, in a piece of scheduling symmetry nobody at FIFA seemed to notice, Morocco arrived and settled the matter without much drama. Azzedine Ounahi scored twice. Soufiane Rahimi added a third late on. Canada lost 3-0 in a match that was never close. Their run was over. Their fans left the stadium having witnessed the best campaign in their country's football history, and still carrying the hollow feeling of a tournament that ended one round too soon. For Canada, the disappointment was real but manageable. They had never been expected to go this far. They went further than anyone imagined. Mexico and the United States had no such consolation. Mexico arrived at their round of 16 match against England with one of the most formidable home advantages in world football, the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. Altitude of 2,200 meters, thin air that has broken visiting teams for decades, an 87,000 capacity crowd roaring in Spanish, a home record in major tournaments that England teams have historically wilted against. For long stretches of that match, Mexico were brilliant. They showed why, of the 3 hosts, they were judged the most impressive, disciplined, technical, and emotionally alive in a way a tournament host needs to be. But England were better. Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, a team that had learned, over the hard years, how to win matches that mattered. 3-2, Mexico out. In the tunnel afterward, Mexican players stood in silence. Outside the Azteca, fans who had danced and chanted and waved flags for 3 weeks sat quietly on the steps. Mexico had given everything. It wasn't enough. And then there was the United States. Their elimination against Belgium didn't just end a football tournament, it ended a story that had been building for months, and it ended it in the most chaotic, embarrassing, politically charged way possible. It started with a red card. In the round of 32, American striker Folarin Balogun had been shown a straight red card for a foul against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Automatic one-match suspension. He would miss the Belgium game. Then, the day before the match, something happened that has never happened before in World Cup history. US President Donald Trump called FIFA President Gianni Infantino personally to urge a review of Balogun's suspension. FIFA, citing Article 27 of their disciplinary code, suspended the ban. Balogun was cleared to play. Belgium's players noticed. Belgium's coach Rudi Garcia noticed. Garcia deliberately left out 3 of his best players, Romelu Lukaku, Jeremy Doku, and Kevin De Bruyne, to send a message. He wanted to prove a point. He wanted to win without needing his biggest names. He did. Charles de Ketelaere scored twice in the first half. The USA's brief equalizer, a Malik Tillman free kick, lasted exactly 61 seconds before Belgium retook the lead. Hans van Aken made it 3. Lukaku, finally introduced as a substitute, added a 4th in stoppage time, 4-1, at home, in Seattle, in front of 66,925 people. Belgium's official account on X posted a single message at the final whistle: "Overturn this." The crowd responded with silence. The hosts are all home. The questions aren't going anywhere. 8 years of preparation, $10 billion in infrastructure, 16 cities across 3 countries, the biggest World Cup in history, and on July 7, 2026, within 48 hours of each other, the 3 nations who built all of it were watching from the couch. Canada went home proud, the overachievers who gave their country its greatest football moments. Mexico went home heartbroken, a brilliant young team that deserved more than a narrow defeat to a better England side. The United States went home embarrassed by the scoreline, by the politics, by the image of their biggest star weeping on the bench while a foreign team posted "Overturn this" to the world. FIFA will move on. The tournament will continue. There's a quarterfinal to play, a semifinal, a final. But for the first time in history, the hosts of the World Cup will watch every one of those matches as spectators. That's not nothing. That's a story worth telling.